Now, we're live. Facebook. This is the audio version, though.
Okay, it's not that split-screen video shit?
No.
Okay.
We're doing the audio version. I know you don't like to be on video. I like doing the podcast version anyway.
Yeah.
And then the audio, so then it can go a little bit longer. The conversation gets a little bit more interesting. And
I don't have to worry about whether or not I have eye boogers.
Yeah. I know you don't like being on camera, so...
You know what? It's not that. It's you know, it's funny. It's vanity where I'm not usually a vain person. When I'm at home, I look like I could be homeless. You know, I don't do my hair, I don't do my makeup, and God bless Pat for still wanting to lay pipe, because I know I could look nicer and I'm not attractive. You know, my hair's sticking up and I've got the same t-shirt on for 2 days and I probably stink a little bit. If anybody would stop by, are you sick? Nope, it's just Tuesday. You know that. And on the road, sometimes I feel gross. I mean, if you're in the car long enough, you're like, yeah, please put me on video now, because that's what I want people to see. So, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about that. Are you really self-conscious about being on video? Because if you are, how are you going to do TV someday? Or
well, I have noticed,
like
I don't really care. TV,
they're not going to film you from only upper angles.
No, but TV is not a goal of mine. It's not. I want to do what we do. I want to be a working comic that's got gigs on the books. And I know, oh, look, in May, I'm going to be able to pay my portion of our family's expenses. I don't care that much about TV spots. Mm-hmm. I know that if I landed on TV, that, yeah, I would have to be concerned with such things. But I wouldn't even make myself available for television until I lost all this weight again and had a tummy tuck. So I didn't care about being on video 65 pounds ago. Right. I was fine with it, but I put this weight back on, and I put it back on so fast that it's a shock sometimes. My own reflection in the mirror is still a shock sometimes. I look at oh, fuck, what'd I do? Oh, that's right, I just expanded overnight. So it's just, I'm not comfortable in my own skin right now.
Yeah. But
at the same time, it's not fair for me to say to you, somebody who's always used video, to say, okay, Jeremy, I'll work with you, but change everything about the way you do shit. That's ego in the way of someone else's productivity, and I won't abide by that. So when you do our show live or when you tape stuff, I am accepting that is part of the deal, and I'm not going to ask you to not do it.
Right.
Because then I would just be a cunt, and I don't want to be a cunt. So.
Well, and at the same time, there is some crazy shit that gets said and done on stage when you're in the heat of the battle, and it just happens to be the thing that pops into your head that's the funniest story to tell.
That you really don't want out there for the whole world to hear?
Exactly, and you're not used to that, and I understand that.
You've edited that out a time or two for me.
Well, it will be cut, just like about 10 minutes ago when I was trying to do the original live broadcast here, and you didn't know we were on. And then
I did not know we were on. I didn't, and you know,
it was such a good conversation, and then it got down to specifics, and Katrina's like, "Oh shit, is that going live?"
Yeah, I didn't realize the confession was live.
So delete.
Yeah, get rid of it.
See ya.
I know sometimes stuff stays on the internet forever, but nobody has to hear that.
Take 2.
Yeah.
But I think it's awesome. I love doing this because it's always been a dream of mine to be a broadcaster. That's what I actually wanted to do. And stand-up turned out to be just something that I was good enough at.
Really?
Versus anything else.
See,
but then...
That's cool.
Now I have a broadcasting station that I travel with. It's like Jer-Dog's portable traveling talk show.
Sure.
And...
You know, it's funny. I always wanted to be a radio DJ. I thought that would be cool. Like an actual disc jockey, like play music. You know, I grew up watching WKRP in Cincinnati. I thought that would be cool. And I told a friend of mine, oh man, I've always wanted to be a DJ. And then somehow ended up being a wedding DJ for 10 years off that conversation. It wasn't the kind of DJ I meant. Talk to my buddy Joe. And then I ended up doing weddings and proms and kid parties for 10 years. So you don't know what kind of twists and turns a want is going to take. But, talk radio, I think, would be fun. You know, callers. I don't think that happens much anymore because of podcasts and people being able to do what they want to do in the moment. There's so many, almost like too many cooks in the kitchen. You know, a Howard Stern couldn't happen now.
Probably not.
Because there's too many.
It took Howard Stern to pave the way for what is happening.
Correct. Now. You're absolutely correct. But it's like once he pulled that curtain back, you know, and exposed the possibility that everybody's able to do it, so nobody's really getting that much attention. You know, like Howard Stern, private parts in the movie. We'll just talk about them when he had that where he beat out Imus. Was that the guy's name? Where he knocked Imus off the charts, and Howard Stern was basically, okay, he's the king of all media now. Nobody's going to get that crown anymore because there's too many people with the ability to put their stuff out there. Like, it would have to be something so fucking amazing. And we are all so compartmentalized in our opinions now, where people might agree with me 40% of the time, the other 60%, then that means they're not going to listen to me at all. Because I don't agree with her idea about A, so B, C, and D can...
They're dismissive about everything.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
We can't just be okay with somebody being different. We have to find somebody that agrees to our identity to follow. You know? That's one of the reasons I love Howard Stern.
Well, in comedy, I have a theory about that, if you want to address it, because I feel like a madman when I tell this to a lot of people.
But I'll probably get it.
Maybe. And if not, I at least know that you have the experience and the expertise to course correct. But I feel like when you get on stage, no matter where you are or who you're in front of or where the gig is, if you're at our level, the standard journeyman comic that hasn't been on television, that you might have a small niche fan base from Facebook or being there before or whatever, there may be some people in the crowd who know you. But for the most part, you're relatively unknown and introducing yourself for the first time.
Right.
And no matter where you are or what you do, whether you're clean, whether you're dirty, whether you're a man, a woman, no matter what demographic you fit into, there are going to be about 20%-ish of the audience that is going to already be into you because of whatever.
Right. I agree with that.
If you're a woman, the half, at least some of the ladies are already going to be into you because you're a woman.
Yay, girl power. Yeah.
If you're it could be any designation you think of. I'm already going to win over the hippies because I roll in and I look baked out of my mind. So they're already going to like me.
Like speaks alike.
And vice versa. The opposite is true because of that exact same thing. For whatever it may be, 20% of the audience is already going to be skeptical. I don't want to use the word hate, but for lack of a better word, they're already going to be they're already going to hate you. You know what I mean? So let's say you have 20% that loves you, 20% that hates you. I feel like our job as headliners, especially doing what we're doing, where we have a message to put out there, and we're trying to attract a very certain type of audience member, our job is to split that remaining 60% one way or another. And you're going to get at least people that have a visceral reaction to what you're talking about. The worst thing you can do is be indifferent, and then you're forgettable as a performer.
Right.
Even if they are haters and they go online like, that Katrina Brown is a cunt and I can't believe what she did and said and blah, blah, blah. That's at least attention and you're affecting people.
Right.
A lot of times I think the negative reviews that you get, it's actually a positive review and they just don't know how to really explain how they felt.
Right.
You know, you challenged them and they thought about what you said and they remembered your name.
So you've gotten negative reviews from me?
Not at all. But I'm
fucking with you. I'm just fucking.
No, but I wish I would love to have you know some. If you had 50 haters out there that are, you're probably going to have 200 people that are loyal, diehard supporters.
Sure. There was I forget who it was on Facebook, was writing a female character and asked, if I give her multiple sex partners, will that make her look like a slut, or will it make her look like a liberated woman in charge of her sexuality? I said, and my answer was, it doesn't matter how you write the character, the reader's going to interpret it as they want to, no matter how descriptive you are.
Exactly.
They're going to make up their mind, and he was flabbergasted. I'm like, look, as artists, it doesn't matter if it's writing a book, doing comedy, the sculpting that I do. Once you put your work out there, it is up for interpretation, and you have zero control.
Right.
About what emotions you pull out of people.
The control I feel that you have as an artist is to be yourself to the hilt.
Oh, I agree.
Go full bore. Don't pull back just to try to win people over.
I agree. Put out there a 100% true product of yourself. Your intent going into a show should be, obviously, to entertain the crowd, but not pandering to the crowd.
Right.
You don't need to pander, I don't think. because we've gotten to a point where we know it's not just about the art, and if nobody gets you 10 shows in a row, then obviously you need to write some new shit. But I'm talking about the generally entertaining entertainer. You're going to have people that love or hate you, but you have no control over how things are going to fall. Your intent can be one thing, but the absorption can be completely opposite. You know, like the example I use about it with people and saying they're offended, right after my mom died, there was a comedian at the first show I did. I was headlining my home club and they had some open micers. And the guy did probably 5 minutes of funeral material. The crowd loved it. The jokes were funny. I'm in the back trying not to lose my shit. The tears are threatening. The snot is building. And I'm shaken because it was too raw of a moment for me as an individual. But I didn't complain to the club, and I didn't bitch about it, and I didn't call the guy an asshole because he didn't poll the room to see what might offend somebody before he got started.
Right.
So my offense, my reaction belonged to me, certainly not his intention with his jokes to bring somebody near a mental breakdown. But that's no control. He had no control. Over a room of 100 people, you can't make sure 100 people are going to react the way you intended the joke to be received. Just like art or anything else. So this guy, writing this novel about a chick who accepts a lot of dick, whether he wants her to be some female heroine, trailblazer for chicks that love cock,
yeah,
or she looks like a slut to somebody, it depends on who's reading it, where they're like, woo, whore, or damn it, that's a whore. You can't control how people absorb you. So it could be lovable or abrasive. I'm abrasive to some people. Like almost confrontational to some people.
Yeah.
And I try to remember that on stage. Like, no one's arguing with you. Don't sound confronted. Don't sound confrontational. But there's part of my brain that knows some of the things I say is subjected to interpretation of more conservative people who might say that's unacceptable. Mm-hmm. Women shouldn't behave the way you're talking. That's unacceptable. I know that's there. And I have sometimes, like if I'm tired or if I'm not 100% when I get up to the mic, I have to, in the back of my head, be entertaining. This is comedy. You're not trying to convince anybody of anything. You're just telling jokes about something.
Do you ever sometimes feel like you're preaching to the choir? Like the reverse of it?
Like everybody's on my side and it's almost like, duh. Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. Depends on the room and how many people are in it. The smaller the crowd, the more chance I have that my material doesn't go over. Because it's intimate. And if it's a small crowd, they all know each other. You know, and if I'm talking about whips and chains and ball gags, little Linda's not going to laugh about it because she works with Judy over there, and then if she laughs,
right,
and Judy sees that, she's going to assume shit about Linda, so they just don't laugh. It may be funny as hell to them, but they are not going to show it because they're worried about what they laugh at, how that projects them to the people around them that they know.
Right. It's like they're giving their position away. I run into that a lot when especially if I'm doing weed jokes, my pot material,
right.
I get a lot of people that will look around for permission first to laugh.
Exactly. Like you might have closet weed smokers who they don't want their buddies to know that they smoke pot.
Right.
You know, so they're not going to laugh and be simpatico with you to support you because it might be telling about them that they don't want people to know.
Yeah.
And that's something we deal with comedy. What you laugh at more often or not is what you may agree with. And then people get uptight. I like to remind people, you don't have to agree with it to find it funny. I laugh at your pot jokes because they're funny. I don't smoke pot.
Right.
But I can still find the humor.
I try to make it so you don't have to be a big stoner
exactly.
to get it.
And that's, yeah.
And I also get the reverse as well. I get people that come up to me afterwards and they go, my dad is so against weed and he hates stoners and this and that. But when you were doing your joke about being on the airplane, I've never seen him laugh so hard.
Exactly.
So then it's like, here's a guy who had an opinion that was opposite of what I should be saying or what I would think he would laugh at. And here he it turned into one of his favorite parts of the show, the thing that he disagrees with philosophically in real life.
Right.
And I think that is one of the most powerful things about humor is it opens people's mind. Like, it opens up your mind because you're flooded with, oxytocin and serotonin and all those pleasure chemicals.
Yeah.
And so now your brain is more receptive to things that normally you wouldn't be receptive to.
You don't have to agree with it to think it's funny. I've heard a lot of shit that I would never do, but it's still funny.
For sure.
There are so many different points of perspective that nobody can agree with every comic because they've been there. You've got to take their experience. I'm struggling for the words. You have to take their
it's tongue in
experience as
cheek
real
a lot of
and
times.
suspend your reality and adopt theirs
For sure.
I guess that's a good way to put it. I don't know. I'll talk your face off.
Right.
Are you sure you want to drive cross country with me?
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
That's going to
be interesting.
It is. You know what? And it's funny. I will amp up how annoying I can be, but I can read people. If you really are sick of Neil Diamond, I'll turn it off.
Right.
I won't be like, driver picks the music, shotgun shuts or cake hole. I won't enforce that to a degree.
We'll plug those dates. We're going to the Eagles in Azusa, California, May 13th, and the Eagles in Yuma, Arizona on May 12th. Cross-country road trip. And you've never done that before.
I've never done it with other comic. I have done like a weekend, with other comics. It's still rare because most people have their own cars, but you carpool, save money. I did do a 3-state weekend jaunt with another Cleveland comic, and we were pretty stark opposites. He had a girlfriend that she called him every half hour. Like, there again, that whole dynamic of fucking gender shit. I flat out asked him, would she be calling you that much if you were with a guy? If you were with another comic that was a dude? He's like, nope.
Really?
I'm like, what the fuck are we going to do driving from Ohio to Indiana? Does she think I'm going to stop and fuck you at every rest area? What? We were driving to work. I mean, she would call when she knew we were driving. It wasn't like she called at the hotel or after the show. She called while we were driving. I'm like, does she think I'm letting you drive and giving you roadhead? What does she think is going on while I'm driving the car?
Yeah.
I drove everywhere because it was my car, and it was only like 8-hour stretches, so I could be a total control freak and drive my car, and he was just along for the ride, and we paid for gas together. But she called all the time, and it was funny. The reason I bring it up is that hearing his side of the conversation at one point going, I don't know where we are, there's a lot of cornfields, but this crazy white chick is playing some shit on the radio about transvestites, and I'm trying to fall asleep, but I can't not listen to this music. I had the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack playing, and he had no idea what the fuck it was. Now, I'm thinking, we're the same age. How can you not know what Rocky Horror is, but different, But he was just, he didn't want to admit that he liked it, because he didn't know it, but he's like, can you play that one song again? I'm like, I got it. So, anyway.
Nice. But what is that? Is that a woman thing, or is that a... I have a feeling like there'd be possessive guys out there also texting and hitting up their girlfriends.
I'm sure there are. The first time I ever went on the road at all, as a comedian, and it was fairly soon out the gate. We were just adapting to the fact that I was going to be a comic when I got the offer to do a college gig in West Virginia, and I was coming home the same day. It was no overnight anything, but I was traveling in the car, going out of state with other comics, and Pat, he kind of raised an eyebrow like, well, this is new. That she's going to be traveling with some dude that I barely know. So he jokingly, but not jokingly, posted, I don't know if you know the song Next Contestant by Nickelback.
How's it go?
It's basically, don't fucking touch my woman, I'll have to rip your pussy. That's the whole theme of the song is don't touch her or I'll kill you. Everybody likes to fuck with her. Here comes the next contestant. I'm going to push you in the dirt. And I'm like, do you really feel that way? He goes, not really, but don't tell them that. Let them think. Because he's a big guy and if you fuck with her, you got me to deal with. So in my instance, and so many comedians know Pat, they respect him enough. It's not about how they feel about me.
Right.
It's that bro code. They're not going to disrespect the wife of a man that they respect.
Yeah.
So it's more about Pat than it is about me, and however it comes about, that shit's cool, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Pat doesn't get weird. He trusts my judgment enough that I'm not going to put myself in the company of somebody who's a smarmy dickhead.
Yeah.
On occasion, my judgment's off, and it has happened. And I tell him about it, but he doesn't get paranoid the next time I go. I think it's you either have a partner that trusts you or one that doesn't. And, like, this was this guy's girlfriend. They're not together anymore. You know what I mean?
Right. That's kind of a telltale sign.
Were you a comedian before you met Karen?
Yes.
See, I wasn't a comedian before I got with my husband.
I mean, barely.
He didn't marry a comic.
Yeah.
We were together for a while before I started doing this, and it was a choice we made together that this was a lifestyle we were going to take on together. So he didn't have to come on board with it. He didn't enter a program already in progress.
Right.
You know, now I did try comedy in my 20s and I sucked at it, but when we met, I was a bill collector at GE Capital. That was the woman he fell in love with. And when I started doing comedy, it was more him saying, this is what you need to do, than me realizing it could even be a career. But it was a choice we made. Yep, I'm going to go on the road. Yep, I'm going to be in bars and hotels, and sometimes I'm going to have to room with dudes. And I just made up my mind that gender wouldn't matter. But me making up my mind doesn't make up the mind for other people or other people's spouses. You know?
True.
There's got to be a level of respect that has to be obeyed no matter what. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to work, you know? And then,
well, I think that's one more of those variables that will prevent some very talented performers from actually being able to live out their full potential. Is there's so much. First of all, 97% of the people that even try comedy, for one reason or another, are not cut out for it in the long term.
No.
Either they don't have the chops, they don't have the thick skin enough, they don't have the tenacity, they can't write more than the original 10 minutes that someone coached them to write to begin with. They go on the road, everything freaks them out. Like, there's different things, but then there's also lifestyle changes. You wind up having kids, you get married, you get into a relationship where now boundaries have to be set about how and when you go on the road. There's more than just yourself to consider. And I think those are all fair considerations, but that is things that will, as these extra dynamics and variables come into play, that's what somehow will prevent a lot of comedians to fall off the map.
Yeah, that West Virginia show, none of the people that I did it with are in comedy anymore. One got married and had kids, one's dead, one quit because he couldn't make it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the people you start out with aren't always the ones that are going to continue, but their lives changed. And comedy didn't fit the changes.
Right. So
you have to be flexible.
And I've always been in show business or theater, and there's always been shared dressing rooms and situations where you just have to get done what needs to get done because the show must go on.
Well, in high school, I was in drama, but we didn't. You know, we had separate rooms for girls and boys, but.
Sure, in high school, absolutely.
Yeah, but you know what? I think
if you were ever like in a summer stock production or one of those types of things, it's like you're in a trailer.
Sure. I have to laugh. The first show I did officially when I got back into comedy, there's a guy that lives in Cleveland, and in the 90s, he really he had a rap career, but he was young. It was a situation with the manager taking the money, and he kind of tanked out. He was trying to get things back going, and he asked if I wanted to be part of a variety show. That's how I started back into comedy. It wasn't at a comedy club. It was at this theater variety show, and I thought that meant there were going to be a bunch of different... It was a bunch of rap artists and me. And I walked in and they're looking at me like, what the fuck does she do? I'm like, I'm the comedian. Like, we didn't think you were into rap. I'm like, don't judge a book by its cover. You know? Well, it was this old theater in Massillon where I live now, and the girls' dressing room had no heat. It was in February, and there was frost on shit. He's like, well, you can wait down in the guys' dressing room, but it's a little crowded down there. Because they all had friends that came with them. Everybody that was there had 15 people with them. And they were all in the fucking dressing room. So it's me in a dressing room with probably 35, 40 black guys. And it was hilarious. Because the one guy in a thick Jamaican accent, I have to take a piss. And the bathroom, the toilet was on the wall. There was no...
Right there, yeah.
And I'm sitting right here. The urinal's right there. I'm like, then take a piss. I'll turn my back. He's like, have you ever seen... I can't do the Jamaican accent, right? But he said something to the effect of, have you ever seen a big black dick before? And I said, well, aren't they all big? And I just, playing with the stereotype. And I hear all these, she's all right, she's cool. I'm like, oh my God, whatever. I don't care about your penis. I just don't want a tank on stage.
Right.
So I'm literally, I got this guy pissing next to me. And I'm like, I can handle pretty much anything anybody throws at me. As long as he doesn't physically throw that dick at me, we're good.
Right.
I don't give a shit what people do. I've shared beds with comics because that's where we had to sleep. One put a pillow moat between us so he could tell my husband, literally, like we didn't even bump into each other while we were sleeping. But it just, to me, I forget I'm a girl because my whole life I've been one of the guys. Mm-hmm. So when my gender does make a difference, it pisses me off because I'm dumb enough to have forgotten I have a vagina.
Yeah.
I've always been one of the guys. I'm the duderous. I'm the chick that all the guys are friends with that just happens to be a chick.
Right.
So...
I think that's probably why we get along so good. It's the same dynamic.
Yeah. Probably.
And then the comedy styles blend well together. Instead of being antagonistic, it's billed as a battle of the sexes, but it's not really a battle.
Sometimes we have been getting into some little bit debates with the Q&A after, and that's kind of fun.
I like it too.
Yeah.
I watched the replays of the Q&A on the Facebook Live, and this is another reason why I like doing those, is because I can go, oh yeah, that did sound good. We need to keep that dynamic in. We need to keep that joke in.
I forgot about the pudding joke.
That could add
I totally forgot about that until you put it on that comic. I'm like, oh, that's right. That's why I did it again last night, because you put it on the comic. I had forgotten that answer. And that's funny. Like, I could turn that into a bit.
Absolutely. Completely.
I could totally turn that into a new bit. But...
I love the Q&A because of that. The audience gives us a lot of new stuff to work off of. If they don't have that much, now we've got a bank of stuff to just pull out of and just have fun with. And I do think a little bit of bickering is good. So I think it's good comedy.
I think they expect it to a degree.
For sure.
And that's okay. I'm good with it. I'll roll with whatever happens. Because I'm just happy to be doing this. Although I have to tell you, there again, you want to talk about the dynamic of gender.
Yeah.
And I won't mention names. I get an email from somebody, boy, since Jeremy picked you up, you certainly are getting work. And I'm thinking, fucker, I worked my way up to this. There's a reason he's working me, because I'm a working comic. But the implication was... you were failing a little lady until a big strong man picked you up and helped you. And I'm thinking, you don't fucking talk to me that way. I mean, I went off on the guy. I did.
Yeah.
Just because you're not working, what's your excuse if men work and women don't?
Right.
Why aren't you getting gigs?
Right.
But, yeah, and then along with the compliment-insult combo, glad you're working. Sure is nice of Jeremy to throw you a bone. That's the idea of it. Sends me a video and asks if I'll vouch for him. What are you fucking kidding me?
You're not going to get in that way
You're
with me
not
anyway.
Going to get my approval by insulting me first. You're not. I'm sorry, because now it's a private message. You're talking to me one-on-one as a human being, not as a comedian.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a dick, like a total dick, and then ask for a favor? That's not going to work.
Right. Well, and what a lot of guys don't understand, and I think this is a problem inherent with comedians to begin with, is they come from the angle of, look at me, look at me, look at me, here's what I have, I'm so talented, why is my talent not recognized? You should just be able to watch 5 minutes and someone should just be able to say a good thing about me, and that seals the deal. And that might be the way it is for some bookers or clubs or whatever. I don't know. But the way I approach stuff is, let me think of a good idea for a show that I think people like a blue collar audience that I come from, that I will want to perform in front of, that I'll resonate with, what's a type of show that they would like to go see that's not just comedy night with Jer-Dog?
Right.
And so I've always wanted to put together themed shows. I've had the idea for the He Said, She Said show in a notebook dating back to 2007.
Fantastic.
But just never, it just sat there as an idea incubating in a notebook.
Sure.
And then, so along comes Katrina Brown, who just happens to fit the exact right criteria of will fit along with that. And it has, okay, so of course, obviously, I have to find a female comic. Now, the reason I did that was because I wanted to do more relationship material where I could balance it out with the female perspective.
And
because
there needs to be that.
If I talk too much about, here's where I get into trouble. And so this is where you bring it up in your rebuttal to when you follow me. And if I talk too much about how much my wife and I have sex, I come off as a bragging, bravado, blah, blah, blah. No one wants to hear that shit.
Right.
You can do it, and it's funny.
Yes.
It might, people be like, women shouldn't talk like that.
Yeah.
But if I were to talk like that, people would be like, oh, well, that's expected to hear a guy. Yeah. Great, dude. We know it. You get laid a lot. So I almost, to make it funny, I have to go in the reverse.
Sure.
And there are times when I'm sexually frustrated in my relationship, but that's not like the overall encompassing theme of it.
Right.
I just write down those specific nights and then turn that into material. But with having you on board, when we get back in the Q&A, now I can get a little bit more real about it. So it's very liberating for me to have that. Before, I just came off as a misogynist pig, or I'd have to go the reverse and look like a total pussy-whipped wimpo in my marriage.
Well, it's hard.
And my wife like a raving bitch cunt to make it funny.
And
I didn't want to do that either.
No, you don't want to make her look like that's the thing with Pat. I can make fun of him being bald because a lot of men can relate to it, and the body hair and the sleep apnea, but early on I learned it's hard to be funny about a good marriage.
Right.
Because it sounds braggy. Oh, it's so awesome in my corner of the world. Why isn't it awesome in yours? Because a lot of people aren't happy.
Right.
And there is a stigma that marriage makes you miserable because there are a lot of failed marriages out there. There are a lot of failing marriages. People want things to work. They want things to feel better and be better, but they certainly don't want to pay somebody to brag about how awesome their fucking life is, because then they're just going to feel like shit. There has to be, you have to bring it down to a level where you're not belittling or negating the life that you live or making your spouse look like a complete piece of shit, but you have to be relatable to the room full of people.
Right.
And I think, and bless Pat for the attitude he has, is basically anything that happens can be taken on stage. We'll have moments in the bedroom where after we're laying in bed talking and he'll start laughing because something stupid happened. He's like, you're going to write a bit about this, aren't you? I'm like, probably. But then I forget because all the blood's not back to my brain and I don't have a notepad right next to the bed.
Yeah.
But the point being, he even said at the beginning, well, if you need to make stuff up, go ahead. And I'm like, well, I appreciate your permission, but I can't do stuff that's a lie because then I'm acting.
Right.
I'm not performing comedy. But I go back to, and I know this is horrible, do you remember how Joan Rivers used to make fun of her husband Edgar?
Yeah,
literally talk about, her whole thing about him was how stupid he was. My Edgar is so stupid. Stupid Edgar. For years, the guy fucking killed himself. Now, I'm not saying he killed himself because his wife portrayed him as stupid for decades on television. I'm not in any way implying that someone's mental health rests that much in someone else's hands. But whatever he had going on, I'm sure it didn't help.
Right. That
he was the stupid husband of this famous woman who never had a kind word to say in the midst of her material. She would after. She would talk lovingly about him in interviews. She'd get on Carson or Letterman or whatever the fuck show she'd be on, and then she would talk about him and it would be okay. But in her material, to watch just that, if you had an opinion about their marriage, it was that she just hated that guy and stayed with him out of obligation. I would never want to leave any venue and ever have one person think she doesn't really love her husband, because it would be a lie.
Right.
I can make fun of his back hair. I can make fun of fat people having sex because it's hilarious. I can do a lot to not belittle my husband. and I will not make him a smaller man than he is for the sake of my career.
And that does happen. There's a lot in comedy where if you tune into, your average sitcom from the 90s, the male lead is usually a doofus.
Yes.
He's usually,
that still goes
the
on
wife
now.
she's the one that has to make all the decisions, and if he's not doing it right, he's going to fuck it up, and that's where the comedy comes from.
Yeah, commercials make men look like fucking morons.
Or they got to go the opposite and do the Al Bundy, where he's a complete sexist pig. You can't ever find the middle ground in comedy where here's a guy who's just a strong character but also funny as shit. I just can't think of one. I'm sure there probably are some examples.
I don't know. You either have,
but it's hard to think of one.
What's the one? The King of Queens. I can never remember the guy.
Kevin James.
Yes. Heavy, average, not very attractive with the hot wife. There's either the ugly guy with the hot wife and he's a doofus, or beautiful people. There's never a really hot dude with an ugly wife.
Right.
That would never happen. You know what I mean? There's never like an Adonis with a Melissa McCarthy wife. They have to put, Mike and Molly, they're both fat people. So that's believable.
Yeah.
And a fat dude with a skinny wife, believable. Skinny husband, fat wife, well, no one's going to buy that shit. We can't make a sitcom out of that. But men are portrayed as idiots. In sitcoms, in comedy, and in commercials. Oh my God, the average commercial makes it look like a dad cannot feed or raise his own children. Like the dog will lick the kid clean so he doesn't have to clean up the mess. Because obviously if dad's watching the kid, there's going to be a bigger mess. I hate that shit because I look at my husband who never failed even once with our kids as newborns and toddlers and young kids, and this whole weekend all he's doing is coaching baseball. I mean, there are men out there doing it right. But there's nothing funny about that, because if you highlight it too much, then it makes the average dude feel like a failure. I don't think the average dude is a failure, any more than I think the average woman is. I think there's a lot of people out there doing okay. And I think that's what we represent, is this demographic of the average person is the majority. Whether it's white, black, old, or young, the average individual is the majority.
Correct.
And we have a lot to say. And I don't think it needs to be this over-exaggerated one way or the other. I love my wife. I hate my wife. I love my husband. I hate my husband. That middle ground is fertile.
Well, it's like that Pink song that you like to play beforehand.
Yeah. Truth About Love?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I love you, but sometimes I want to punch you in the fucking face.
Yes, that's why I love that song, because it's true. When I talk about on stage, you love them every day, but it doesn't mean you like them. There's an old Billy Joel song with lyrics like that. Just because you love somebody, you may need somebody, but you're not going to like them all the time. Those are the lyrics, and it's the truth. And I think people have forgotten it's okay to feel that way, because everything is one extreme or the other. So if I don't hate my husband, that I must love him until I'm sick from it, or the opposite. I don't feel that new romantic love anymore, so I guess I gotta hate him. They don't realize there's a middle ground where reality lives. That's where reality...
Legitimate reality.
Yeah, it is...
Not reality show reality.
It is, potato soup farts that make a husband gag and run out of a bedroom.
For sure.
It's not always about the popcorn butter farts.
Right.
But it is. It's about the real, and that's the one feedback I get. Your stuff is real.
That's the feedback that I get all the time.
And that's what I want.
I'll break out of my scripted routine as much as humanly possible in order to have a real conversation with the audience. If it's going to go somewhere interesting.
Right.
If it's just some drunk yelling out bullshit to get attention, then that person can go fuck themselves.
Right.
But I'm not a guy that reacts to heckling in a negative way at all. And when I do lose my cool, it's a calculated move. Right. I don't just get emotional and let my emotions carry it over.
No, you can't just shut the fuck up the minute somebody talks. You can't do that.
No, but I'll build up to shut the fuck up.
Sure, yeah.
And then I'll turn around and go, I'll buy him a drink. You know what I mean?
Chances, like that Woodstock gig that we did, that guy that kept yelling something. I forget, he kept yelling the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Now, my brain will split. Can he help it? Because Tourette's is a thing. You know what I mean? And there are people in certain nervous situations, or they repeat words that you say. Like if you do the popcorn butter, someone will go, popcorn butter.
Yeah,
to me, that's not heckling. There are parrot people.
That's their response. That's their positive response.
Exactly. Yeah. And I have seen comics jump on that person, and they genuinely look startled, like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Did I really upset you? And, from a standpoint of feature versus headliner, when I was middling, very rarely did I get heckled. I talk too fast. People aren't quick enough to say shit before I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah, can't get a word in edgewise.
But when I would get heckled, I would always deal with it cutesy and sweet, because if you go hostile, you can feel the room go hostile.
Mm-hmm.
And then no matter how much fun everybody was having, it's like watching a parent scream at their kid at the mall. For a minute, everybody's like, that was awkward, that was uncomfortable.
Right.
I don't like that feeling. I don't want to cause that feeling, and I don't want to dig a hole for the next comic to have to dig out of.
Right.
That's disrespecting the entire room, audience, staff, and other comic, in a minute. But I've seen comics, they're waiting to be able to scream, shut the fuck up, to some stranger at a bar.
Yeah, it's almost like they're more interested in training people on how to be comedy audience as opposed to just doing a good show, which will naturally make them a good comedy audience.
That's one of the reasons some of the, look how this comic destroyed this heckler videos, I hate those. Because it is shining a light, and it's that thing where if you see it enough, they must want to do that, or that's how I'll get on the internet. I'll heckle a comedian. Somebody will tape it, and then I can share it and say, that was me. Even if they're being a complete asshole, no one cares how fame happens anymore. They just want the notoriety of being of going viral. So when people share, not only... I'll see videos, watch this comic destroy a heckler, and they mildly shut them down at best. There's no destruction happening. And it's not that clever. And in my mind, I'm going at it a million different ways on how it could have been funnier to do it. But then it's like, is that what you want to be known for as a comedian? How you deal with disruptive people? Or do you want people to know how funny you are? Because it's pretty easy to talk shit to somebody who's being rude. That's not comedy. That's just your personality.
Right.
My mother could shut down a heckler, but she couldn't get on stage and be funny. Shutting down a rude person is not being a comedian. That, I think, in the moment of a heckler, the true core nature of the comic comes out. It's not about their comedy anymore. They want to get back to their comedy and someone's disrupting it.
I agree.
So I think the core of who they are comes out. Because I know with me, even if I'm headlining, I will try to be nice before I go shitty. But when I go shitty, I will verbally eviscerate somebody. If it gets to that point, they're never going to win, but then I feel like shit because the very worst of my nature just came to the surface.
Right, so that's why I'm an advocate of losing your cool, but as a calculated move. Yeah. Almost like you're acting angry.
Once I get actual angry, I can't control it.
That is tough.
That is.
And that's the mission.
But
that's what I propose.
That's why when I get to that point, I'm gone. I've lost. And I have lost control. I'm not going to say it's never happened.
It happens to me when they bring me up drinks. If they bring me up whiskey or a tequila, but especially whiskey, I don't give a fuck. I don't care if I hurt people's feelings. I don't care how I don't like every sense of anything that would be socially calibrated goes completely out the window.
Sure.
And it also usually happens, I already pissed off and annoyed because I don't want to drink tequila or whiskey, especially on stage.
Right.
Maybe a few shots of tequila if I'm partying later on, but those are the two things I absolutely don't want, and people will bring them to me as a way of getting under my skin, then peer pressure me into drinking it, not let me actually perform. I don't have to do the routine, but I can't even do anything ad-libbed until first I drink that motherfucking shot of whiskey.
Right.
And so then once I do that, now it's like, I have to say now, and I've learned this much from watching video and having the experiences, I will say, I guarantee nothing from this moment on.
Right.
And make that well known. And then as soon as I feel any kind of thing, anger or emotion coming up where it's starting to kill my humor, I just have to bail and get out of there.
Right.
There's no other way. Otherwise, it's just going to turn ugly, and I know that'll happen.
The worst incident I ever had was in Florida, and pre-show, I knew these people were a problem. Some people announce to you, "I'm the one that's going to fuck up your night." When they try to, with their attitude. I'm not saying they use those words, but before the show, you can point me out. I don't mind being part of the show. No, I'm good. I have my own material. Yeah. No, really, you can use me and my friend, and they're already drunk, and they're up in your face, and they're trying to tell you, I like jokes about blah, 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 And you try to be that ambassador to humor where you're like, it's all over, we're going to have a great time. I watched in Florida, there were 6 people, 4 dudes, 2 chicks. They hassled the MC, but the MC did a back and forth with them, and that is such a mistake as an MC. You either ignore them or ask in the beginning to shut them down or get them out. But you certainly don't, as an MC, set the tone that this is a conversational show. Because if an MC leads with interaction with the heckler, then everybody thinks that it's an interactive show. And it's not. It's a fucking performance. But anyway, they hassled the MC. My feature, God bless this poor kid, it was literally his first paid feature gig at a comedy club. He did 7.5 minutes and bolted from the stage. Because by the time he got up there, they were in control of the room. They had that club in their hand. And I was out smoking, and I see the feature run, and the stage is empty. I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't hear the final straw that broke that kid's back.
Yeah.
So I'm snuffing out my cigarette. I'm running in. The MC runs up. He does like 7 minutes of awkward what the fuck material.
Yeah.
And then brings me on stage. And there's the crowd is capacity probably 250 people.
Yeah.
And there's 6 assholes right in the middle of the room. So I tried as best as I could to pretend everything that just happened beforehand didn't. I didn't want to fuel their fire.
Right.
I got it 15 minutes in before they started on me. And I tried to be nice about it. And the nicer I was, the more vicious they got. Like, they were basically, we destroyed 2 people. You make the complete set. We want to ruin you, too.
Yeah.
Long story short, it came down to the club kicking them out, all but one. One guy stayed, and he looked right at me and goes, I want to hear your set. You're funny. But that guy was paying their tab. So they hovered outside waiting for the last guy, came in to fetch him, disrupting the room again.
During the show.
Right. They came in, come on, man, let's go. And he knew who it was, and he kind of put his hand up like, I'm sorry. But one of the fucking guys at the bar started defending me. Now one of these muscleheads is trying to start a fight with the guy at the bar who was trying... The cops were called. I had to be escorted to my car.
Jesus.
But after, I had the whole room at one point singing, na 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 na, hey, goodbye to these fucking assholes. And now by this point, the show is so derailed. I've only done maybe 15 minutes of material.
Yeah.
But I still have 244 people who paid to see a show.
Yeah.
And I asked them, do you want me to wrap it up or do you want me to do a show?
Do it!
Yeah. I still did an hour's worth of material after all of that mess.
Yes.
And I was able to turn the hostility into something positive. Mm-hmm. But these people were not going to stop. They were not going to stop till they were thrown out. And they were threatening physical violence on people. You're going to find assholes on occasion. They were by far the worst. And it was a little bit of a mob mentality because there were 6 of them.
Right.
It wasn't just one drunk asshole.
So they're all fueling each other.
Yeah, who had too many shots. But I try as best as I can. People expect me to be a bitch. Because the general vein of females in comedy is that bitey, like Lisa Lampanelli, queen of mean. Mm-hmm. She's going to be mean. She's going to be bitey. She's going to be harsh.
Which is weird because, like, I don't think Lisa Lampanelli like that. I think she's just really, really good at roast humor. Right. But her demeanor is very nice. But she calls herself the queen of mean. Yeah. She does call herself that.
You know, and it's like...
But when she talks, her voice doesn't come off as shrill.
Right, no.
Or mean or bitchy to me. It just comes off as very clever, very biting sarcasm. But she doesn't come off as abrasive so much. Now, when she's doing a roast, she's known for a roast. And that's what you're supposed to do because it's a fucking rose.
Right. I just...
But people expect you to be bitchy and mean?
I think they expect it in general from female comics. So if they've never seen me, and I've had people approach me after, I don't like female comedians, but you're funny. It's like, please don't insult my entire gender. Just to compliment me. If you thought I was funny, you could just tell me I'm funny. You don't need to insult every fucking female in comedy before me because they're why I'm here. You know what I mean? The road was paved for me. I'm not doing anything new. I'm not paving anything. That road was laid on the backs of women before me who made it possible for me to be here. All the way down from, Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball and the women who weren't taken seriously. We can't name a TV show after a woman. I Love Lucy was groundbreaking. That she was the star. He wasn't, she was.
Right.
That didn't happen. Gilda Radner is why I'm a comic. I saw Gilda live when I was a kid and something seated in me that I couldn't make that itch go away. But there is a certain... I hear it all the time from the general public, not comedian to comedian. But when I get feedback from people, I don't like female comedians. Women aren't funny. I didn't think I'd like you. We thought you were going to be mean. We thought you were going to be abrasive. We thought you were going to be harsh. We expected you to be meaner than you were.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? I mean, I have resting bitch face. I have a hard look to me. That's just a family trait. We're all kind of, hard-looking people. So I try, even when I go on stage, I smile and wave at everybody as I'm walking on stage. Like, hi, we're going to have fun.
Right.
Like a happy little puppy, So they don't see abrasive cunt before I have a chance to open my mouth.
No, what you remind me of, like, if I were to sum up your comedy character, it would be like Aunt Katrina. Like the fun party aunt. That shows up, hey everybody, we're here to have a good time.
That is so
talking shit,
accurate.
telling stories, and everybody can't wait for Aunt Katrina to show up.
That is hilarious.
Tell her shit.
It almost made me start crying. That's amazing. You know I have like 17 nieces and nephews, right?
No, I did not know that.
And most of them all now have kids. Like I have nieces, nephews, and grandnieces and nephews, and I am crazy Aunt Katrina to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how you come off. Yeah. I mean, that's how I pictured you before I saw your set when we first met that very first time we worked together.
Out in North Dakota.
I was like, she's the goofy aunt.
Right.
Like that was my immediate.
Fair enough. That's a very accurate. And thank you for saying that. Not like, well, you sound like this person, or you sound, because I'll have people like in interviews. Well, who would you compare yourself to? Nobody. Because I'm me. I don't want to be the next Roseanne. I don't want to be the next Rita Rudner. I don't want to be the next Lisa Lampanelli. I don't want to be an imitation or a mimic of anyone.
Right.
They can inspire me to pursue, but not how I perform. And you hear that in open mics where people, if you close your eyes, you swear it's Louis C.K. or Mitch Hedberg on stage because they're such fans. Their pentameter of speaking, their material, their voices. There was a guy local that sounded, and physically, his physical movements were Jack Black. Mm. He looked like him. He sounded like him. Even his material was delivered the way I would imagine Jack Black doing.
Yeah.
And he won the contest. Now, granted, I wasn't performing that night. And people, even in my local, they don't all know me, especially the newbies coming up. They don't know me. And I don't act offended when they don't know me. But we were all out smoking, and I mistakenly offered advice when it wasn't asked for. And I told him, look, you have great energy, and you're funny, and your material is awesome. Just try not to sound so much. Be aware how much you sound like Jack Black.
Yeah.
And his friends were like, in my face, what the fuck do you know? He just won the contest. And I'm like, look, first of all, dickheads, I won the contest 10 fucking years ago. And my picture's on the wall. I do this for a living. So this kid's just starting out. He obviously wants to follow this way.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help him, so why don't you back
But you don't let her kill your dream, man. Don't let her kill your dream.
People don't want honest advice. You brought that up earlier. They don't. There's a guy in my area who put his video and said, tell me what you think. Well, I saw him in the contest. I was one of the judges. And I thought, this kid is good, but he's too dirty out of the gate. He's going to have to clean up some of his material. And he put it on Facebook. Tell me what you think. So I messaged him, and I told him exactly what I thought. Like, this is Katrina Brown. I was one of the judges in the contest. This is what I feel. You want to know what I think? This is what I think. And I did it in a way where I gave him positive feedback and what he could work on. Nothing was negative. But I was very blunt. I'm like, if you want to be a bar comic only and never work comedy clubs, you're fine. Because most of the time, bars don't give a shit if you're dirty. But if you want to do both, or you are looking towards comedy clubs, no club's going to MC you with the material you had there tonight.
Yeah.
You are far too dirty. You're going to have to figure out how to clean up your act if you want to work comedy clubs as well. And I didn't hear anything. I saw that he read it. And for like a week, I didn't hear from him. And then he messaged me back. He's like, I have hated you for the past week. I have cursed your fucking name. He's like, I have hated you. Like, who the fuck does she think she is? He goes, and then I got to writing new material.
Yeah.
And he's second place and won some money in that contest. And we've been friends ever since. But he's like, I hated you because you told me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear.
Yes. And
that's when I've asked people. People ask me, will you look at my video? I'm like, do you want an honest opinion? I mean, people I don't even know will send me, hey, 5 minutes, can you watch this? And I'll ask them, do you really want honesty? Or do you just want me to tell you you're funny? Before I even click play. And most of the time they're like, never mind. And I'm not trying to be a bitch, but I will be honest and realistic about what I'm watching.
Yeah, that, for me, it's already a screener. When I get the question in the video, will you watch this and tell me what you think? I'm not going to watch it. Because if you need me to tell you what to do with your comedy bit, unless you're asking something specific, like, I'm onto this, I need a capper for the punchline. Yeah, but if you ask me, what do you think? Guess what? It's not ready. You shouldn't be sending that out to anybody.
I think anybody that's new needs feedback. I think there's too many people who don't get feedback that need it. And and your name's all over flyers. People pull your page up and they may not know anything about you, but they can already see you work. You work and they want to work. So before they even know what kind of comedian you are, they admire you. They see that you have what they're aspiring to be. And I think that's what happens with me. I'll start putting out these flyers because I'll have, our gigs and this gig and that gig, and someone will go, oh, Katrina Brown, I'm going to ask her opinion. But they're so used to people shining them on, they don't realize when they land on me, they're going to get a real opinion. And I've always said if there was something physical that made me stop being able to travel, I would coach comedians. Because I think I have an objective. I'm not going to tell you whether a joke's funny or not. Because my idea of funny may not be your idea of funny.
Yeah.
But the actual performance and, like I told Joe, the material content, you're too dirty if you want to work this way. If you want to go this way, you're fine. And you're funny. And you got great energy. You're good. But, like, little things, like one guy sent me a clip, and I told him, I stopped watching it 3 minutes in because I couldn't see your face. You were wearing a hat in a show with low lighting, and from your nose up, your face was gone. No facial expressions. What is there to watch? I could listen to you. But I can't see animation and expression as part of being the comedian.
True.
And I had forgotten all about this. This was years ago. The last time I was at the Funny Stop, the guy hugged me, and he took his hat off. And I even suggested, if you want to wear the hat on stage as part of your persona, take it off. Be, like, goofy about it. Make it part of you. Put it on the mic stand. Then you won't mess with the mic stand. You won't fiddle. And he brought it up. He's like, you know what? That's my signature move now. And I'm like, good for you. That's awesome. He goes, you gave it to me. I'm like, I did? Because, people shoot me and I'll shoot him an opinion, but then I don't follow up on them. But apparently I told this guy, take your hat off, put it on the mic stand. And he said, that feels like I'm starting up my engine. Well, good for you. And because he was a bald guy. What the fuck did he need a hat for?
Right.
You don't have a bad hair day. Take the hat off. Shine on. But I don't mind telling people what I think. But I tell them it's an opinion. It's not advice. Because advice means they'll fall back on you if shit doesn't work right.
Yeah, that's true. And then if I get stuck in the trap of they'll do what I suggest, but they'll half-ass it So then, of course, it flops. And then they'll come, like you said, it comes back on you. You're responsible for their mishap, their mistake, their failure.
Right.
And that's why I don't really like giving the feedback. You know how many fucking features I've told were funny just so I can get the hell out of the club?
I'm sure. And
know,
I don't like
you're funny. You got it, man.
Yeah, face-to-face confrontation makes me uncomfortable because you never know how someone's going to react to negative opinions. You know, this is mostly online stuff, and like the Jack Black guy, I spewed opinions that weren't asked for. That was on me. I should have kept my mouth shut. Because I know when I was starting out, I'd get advice I didn't ask for. One whose opinion I trusted just kept on me. Mothers shouldn't tour. Women shouldn't be on the road. You should figure out a different way. Stop being dirty. There's more money in clean comedy. You'll make a fortune.
Yeah.
You'll work less. I'm like, look, your advice is valid because it's your opinion. But it's not the road I'm taking. Stop repeating this stuff to me. It doesn't apply to me. I appreciate your concern. But I'm happy with what I'm doing. Just because you're not happy with me doing it, you know, you're not my father, husband, or brother. Stop telling me what kind of comic to be. Now, if I were failing miserably, and his idea was that was a solution for me to be successful, then it would have been smart to listen to it. But his opinion was female comics who have children shouldn't be on the road, and female comics with children and husbands shouldn't tell dirty jokes. Well, you know what? You go ahead and be a conservative fuckwit.
Well, I think that's all that is some sort of weird...
It's a control
content control issue, which doesn't make much sense to me because there are too many other examples to prove everything that you just said that he said about you. There are too many examples of the opposite being true and a successful model of it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
There are too many dirty comedians. There are too many female comedians that have families. There are too many... Whatever he said... I don't even buy... I buy into the argument of work clean when you're starting out because it opens up more opportunity.
I agree.
And it develops your skill set, but I don't believe the idea of work clean because that's where the money is. I really don't. I think that's a mid-level thinking. I think there is... You get to a certain level where, that's corporate gigs. That's where the money is. Maybe... But that's not where a fan base is.
Right.
And I contend that where the real money is and the real power and the real longevity in a career is building a fan base.
Agreed.
So when people go on to your thing and like you said, they look it up and they see that you're a working comic, it's really all the stuff that I'm doing to develop a fan base. When you go to a corporate gig, they're not there because they chose to be in that audience. They're there because they have to be because their boss told, right?
Yeah.
So you might get a short-term, quick, good-sized cash grab doing a corporate show. But number one, that's limited for the season of holiday parties.
Right.
And number two, none of those motherfuckers are going to remember you or look you up.
Nope.
They're not going to meet and greet with you and mingle after the show, which you get that opportunity when you do bar gigs or our type of shows or wherever you are. You have to go into the niche where you're going to speak directly to people who want to come see you, not to people who are just there because their boss told them or for some other reason. There's a difference between a captive audience and a compelled audience.
Right. And I think now, at the stage I'm at, I don't mind turning down a gig if it's a clean show. Because I know what I'm comfortable doing. It's got to be worth me leaving Pat and the kids. I have to feel that I got something out of it other than the paycheck. I enjoy comedy. I know there's people who've been on the road for 20, 30 years. They hate comedy, but they don't know how to do anything else, so they stick with it. I wish they would find something else to do. Because they're souring the water. You know, if you're that unhappy, bye. But they started thinking they were going to be the next Seinfeld. They were going to be the next Roseanne. And they're not. Because it's what we're doing. It's miles traveled and many, many locations. And you have to love it. You have to love it.
Yes.
To truly respect it and enjoy it. But I don't love clean comedy. I don't love performing clean comedy. I feel like I'm in a...
You mean for yourself?
For myself.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got on a shirt that's too tight. Or pants that they're too tight and I can't sit down.
It's handcuffs.
It's very restraining. I don't like it. That's why I turned... This sounds so cocky. America's Got Talent contacted me years ago. Maybe about 4 years ago. You know, I know people that stand in the rain for the fucking auditions. They contacted me. Come, you got a guaranteed audition. da-da-da-da. I said, thank you, but no thank you. And even the kids were like, why'd you do that? I said, look, Mom is not the kind of comic that to do 5 minutes of clean, primetime TV viewing material, and I did not spend all this time developing my persona, developing my material, to have a national audience see a side of me that's a lie. Yeah, I could do 5 minutes of cutesy kid jokes.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be known as the cutesy mom comic. It's one grain of sand in a whole hourglass of who I am.
It's also hard to multiply more material out of that because you're doing it based on a character, based on a show, versus based on your real life.
Yes.
And you can do material based on your real life. I can extract jokes every single minute of every single day when I focus on that. But if I have to focus on that it has to fit these certain parameters that are going to be audience approved, then it becomes an enormous challenge to do.
And it's not about not wanting to work that hard, because I think there's work involved in all comedy.
For sure.
It's knowing what audience you are appropriate for, and I'm not appropriate for network TV at 8 o'clock at night. I know I'm not. Could I make myself be? Sure. But do I want, and I'm not saying that people that, see, this is where I choose my words wisely, because I don't want to offend the people that have gone for that, to have that TV credit, to push their career forward. This is my opinion about my comedy. I don't begrudge anybody that's gone for Last Comic Standing, even if they only get 2 seconds so they can say they were on it, because I know how some bookers and agencies are. Even if you have that, I was on America's Got Talent, oh, we'll book you. They don't even look. You got that national TV credit, you're bookable. I understand the business side of it, and I don't begrudge anybody using that to get into a door. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't react. I could not. I have to look myself in the face when I look in the mirror. And to me, I would have been abandoning and betraying the person I have become as a comedian, because it's very much the woman that I am. The things that I talk about are personal. You know, the whole women are okay to be sexual isn't just about the LOLs. This is a growth within me as a human being to accept my own nature.
Right.
Where I have let society beat me down for 30 years and decided I've had enough and I'm going to make it funny and help other women too. The core of my material is that. Be okay with who you are. Be it a man, a woman, you know, whatever. Be okay with the moment you are in and okay with who you are.
Yeah.
I wasn't okay with me for most of my life. I wasn't. I was a fucking wreck. And writing my material healed those parts of me, because I had to be okay being on stage in the spotlight and having people actually look at me. It was much easier to feel like they weren't looking. You know?
Yeah.
I'll be the loud, goofy female friend. Nobody's looking at me because I'm just one of the guys. It's easy to be an invisible female. Your gender is invisible when you're the goofy chick that nobody's trying to fuck. Nobody's trying to marry. You're just the goofy. You know what I mean? Now I'm already married, so that makes it even easier. My gender didn't matter. But now you're on stage and there's 5 guys and you're the only chick in the show. Your gender is going to make a difference.
Well, it's an easy distinction to make.
It's going to be noticed. So I had to start being okay with myself. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to abandon all that for a fucking TV credit. I'm not going to set aside a decade's worth of work so that I can get this tiny little glip that now a booker's going to want to hire me. Fucker, I was funny without that glip. If you don't want to hire me, I'll find work somewhere else. And I'm okay with that. There's certain clubs and bookers, I'm okay if they never work me. And no hard feelings. I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying, if you are looking at the surface of who you think I am, and you're feeling I'm not going to fit your venue, well then I don't, fine. If I'm too dirty for your clubs, by God, don't work me. Please don't work me, because then we're all going to be unhappy.
Right.
Let me go over here where I know that everyone's going to be happy when I'm done. The booker, the manager, the audience, me. I want everybody happy. And if I'm too much of a gamble, okay, don't roll the dice. I'll go over here where I know I am already winning. You know, don't put up the safe stuff. If that's the club you want to run, put up your favorites, put up your safe stuff. You know, I just worked a room in Buffalo where the guy kept announcing how dirty I was. Oh, she's more dirty than anybody we ever had here. She's dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talk about sex, but I don't think I'm bad. I don't think I should come with that big of an advisory warning. You know? And at the end of the night,
I don't either, unless it's an advice. I like to do it when I introduce you in the sense of a build-up, but not an advisory.
A warning. He was warning people on the radio and when he brought me to stage the first show. And I was so happy that he was within earshot as his regular customers were walking out. You're the funniest comic they've ever had here.
Yeah.
When are you coming back? You are exactly what we needed to hear. This is what we needed. We love you. You know, like all those accolades. When you have one of those shows where the room is to capacity and not one person is walking out with their eyes averted, not one person is complaining, they can't wait to talk to you, hug you, take pictures with you. Those rare moments where every motherfucker's happy, I was so glad it happened there, that first show. And I didn't get cocky. I just said, can you just bring me up with my normal intro and not the warning label? I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm seriously, I think your audiences are going to be all right. We're good.
Yeah, it just seems like a weird thing to even do.
Like, don't know if they have more clean comics, because a lot of the people, it's a small room, are regulars. So if they're used to clean, and then I come on stage, I can understand, hey, the waters are going to get rough, guys. Put your seatbelts on. But I don't think I'm that abrasive to need that kind of a warning.
Yeah, I also feel like there's a difference between dirty this is where I differ from a lot of people in the business. I don't think blue comedy or dirty comedy means curse words.
No,
or
I think
sex
it's content.
Material. Yeah, because the biggest complaints I get are, you made fun of Walmart too much. You talk too much about weed. You were mean about your kids.
Right.
I can't remember, other than from a booker or someone who assumed that they weren't offended. I always say this, I'm fine with it. I was just worried about so-and-so. Meanwhile, so-and-so didn't give a fuck.
This is the gender difference, though, because it's accepted that men are going to be sexual and talk about sex. That's the whole society, men and women on a different level of what is expected and accepted. And I'm not trying to play the gender card, because obviously I don't give a fuck. It does not drive my material at all what people think is okay for me as somebody with a uterus to say. I'm going to speak as a human being. I just happen to be a female. But it's totally cool, and I've seen it happen. You know, down south, I got an MC, a guest set, and a feature, 3 men in front of me talking about necrophilia, herpes, fucking midgets, bestiality, and all this. The most vile sexual time, and the crowd's going crazy.
Right.
I get up there and say, yeah, I love to suck my husband's dick, and they're fanning themselves like they got the vapors. You know, she needs Jesus, somebody get some holy water. So it's not about, sometimes it is very much who they're willing to hear it from.
That's true.
And I get that a lot. I get, oh my God, you look like my son's den mother, you know, for his Cub Scout troop. And I would not want to think of her talking like you. Well, it's not my fault who I fucking look like, you know? People are weird.
No, I agree. I just don't think you should come with the warning. I think you should do the warning. When you get up there and you say your thing, and then you address the reaction.
And I have to a degree.
Because that addressing then is under your control. You can then tell people what you think that their reaction should be, or how you feel your material should be received. Not allow someone else to give a preconceived, not that you had any control over it, but I'm saying it sucks when someone gives their preconceived notion of what the audience should expect out of you, because it pigeonholes you. Maybe you were going to go up there that one time and that was going to be your clean material, not because you were going to make it clean just for the sake of it, because the particular bit you were going to do just happened to be clean, and now they've put you in a position where, oh shit, the expectation is I got to be dirty. Anyway,
I'm going to go smoke.
Great talk, Katrina Brown and Jer-Dog. This is our podcast that we did before we go to the Kensington Bar Grill for the He Said, She Said comedy show. Another one of the books. What's that?
What's the name of the bar?
It's called the K-Town Bar.
Fantastic. For Kensington?
Kensington, yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Very clever. And I got to go set up and get ready for that. Come see us in Amherst, Ohio at the Eagles Club May 6th, and Yuma, Arizona May 12th, and Azusa, California May 13th. Go to HeSaidSheSaidComedy.com. Go to thebarcomic.com. Go to The Bar Comic on Facebook. Leave a comment. Blah, blah, blah. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.